All right, we're gonna do our exterior on this. Overall, pretty good. Like a navy blue, dark blue paint job. Hasn't had much body work done. Going through and just feeling out through everything. You can see there's some good dings, scratches, and dents on here. Nothing major. No like signs of huge impact on here or anything like that. See like a ding here. And some like chips on here, and then we got a chip in the glass, and just some like marks along the sides here. Has a good amount of orange peel in the paint, so it might be good to do like a nice buff and cut, maybe remove some of the iron deposits. The plastics, like the bumpers here, has got a couple marks on the back end. Kind of oxidized where the sun has started to fade your black away. Rough to the touch. Not so black anymore. Sorry. Headlights, some pitting, some yellowing, some haze in front of the lights. Some chips on the front here, but not terrible. There's no huge dents, no major impacts. No signs of like panel replacement. This is going to be your worst section. Clear coat has taken damage here. So you probably have to like scuff this all the way down and repaint because it's all messed up. Someone put some kind of touch up that was not the right. Let me get it to focus. Yeah, not the right color. Not a good application. What else do we see? All the lights and everything are working good. So keep this part short and sweet and just keep moving forward through our inspection. On to the next section. All right, we're gonna go through our engine bay here. These little 4-cylinders are amazing. My little sister-in-law has this exact car, just like a little bit extra on the trim stuff. Hers is at like 280 some odd thousand miles on that thing. Doing really good. Hers has a bit of the surface rust going on as well. We're making do with it. Hers, I would say, is a bit worse underneath, but some of this stuff is really concerning. Like I did show you the floor pan on the trunk portion. This has been re-welded. I took a really good picture for you there, but they re-welded it and then put a bolt through. Yeah. I mean, that whole piece should have been like cut out of the tower and replaced properly, but I don't know how well that's working or not. Not the best welds there, and it's hard to weld on rust. You can see where the bracket has just come out from the bolt just popping out. Filter looks good. Oil looks really good. I did note down in here is a good sign. You can see that wetness there. That's just coming off the corners of the valve cover. Trans fluid, I took a pretty good picture of it for you. It's a bit expanded. It's just a sign of it breaking down over time. Throughout this inspection, I did say there's a bit of a warp to the brakes. I'm sure you're aware of that. He said you've already driven it. When you get those brakes, service that fluid. It's a bit dark. It's just moisture over time, and brake fluid and power steering are one of the most neglected fluids on any car, but the most used. So make sure you just service that out. You don't want moisture in the system. Just reduces your performance by like making your boiling point lower, and then you're not where you want to be in that kind of pickle if they get hot. So we're just gonna stop here and keep going through the rest of this inspection. All right, we are gonna go through our undercarriage. I like to start mine at the front here, looking from the front to the back like this. Just shows if anything's loose, hanging down, sagging. You can also see like wetness, like with cars, if there's good leaks, they'll blow in the wind as you drive, right? So it'll show wet spray all over. As you can see, a little bit of wetness on the oil pan here. Sorry, the sun's just showing dust here. There we go. On your rack itself, there is just a bit of surface rust. Basically, the subframe here is what holds engine, trans, and everything up into the body, the shell of the car. Got a little bit of surface rust on the bottom cross member here, but nothing too major. All looks decent. We're gonna pause here, and I'm gonna touch base on every lift point and go through those corners. This is your driver front, so that is technically subframe control arm, and then this is actually the body frame. It's interesting how they describe these. Looks good, still has a lot of the natural undercoating there, or the factory undercoating, I'm sorry, not natural. And then your lift point is in good shape. You can see there is like a bit of surface rust here. I can push in on that, so I'd be wary of that. I just pushed a little bit of that in. So we're gonna keep moving here. All right, on this left rear, so more of that surface rust with that undercoat. It wasn't treated, it was just coated, which doesn't help. It just kind of creates a sealed area for the rust to fester. And then this is gonna be rear. This is an all-wheel drive car, and then right next to us is the fuel tank right now. We're gonna go to the back end. Okay, so we're at the rear. This is your floor pan. I did touch base on the trunk part, what I saw on the inside, but you can see here quite a bit of rust underneath. And if you look up, I'm gonna get this nice and close so you can kind of see how it's flaking away underneath there. And then this being where your muffler sits with the heat and everything, it's actually bubbling, like the rust is bubbling through in the trunk portion. Like I said, you'll see more in that section. Get up in here, kind of see how it's flaking off really good. It's just starting to peel off. Okay, so passenger side, I'm using the sun to kind of show you here. You see how that is just peeled off right there? So that could be the undercoating, because it wasn't treated, and then like you can't just go onto rust, but like you can just pull that. Yeah, so definitely something to note. Oh, that just came off. We'll keep moving from here. Last corner, same story. See quite a bit of rust forming here. Then you actually see a little hole starting to form there. All right, we are on our interior here. There's some good wear in here, so I'm not gonna like spend a lot of time. I'm just gonna basically point it out. Steering wheel here, you can see the chrome's gone, some wear on the plastics. Buttons all still show what they got. Our mileage is 127,645 at the end of our drive here. Pretty much radio controls, cruise controls. This one was giving me an issue with the button. I'm not sure if it was the button. I did give like a pretty quick jab like that on the brakes, and I started getting it work. It worked when I first drove, canceled it into like a town area, and I got back on the freeway, and I could not get it to work above 50. And then I got down to the exit ramp, and I gave it a light jab, and I got it to kick back on. So I don't know what combination of things. I did turn this off for like, a couple miles. I don't know what I did. It's working now. So it was mad at me. I do have auto climate. It is in Celsius. Talked about that more in a different part. A little bit of misalign on the dash here. This was also not clicked in all the way, so I got that resecured well. Radio works as well, pretty well. And then we do have manual lights, so you do have to turn those on and off yourself. As far as your door, you have auto on this window, rest are all manual. Your door lock actuator on this left rear door is going out. Turn the radio back off here and then let you listen. Just listen. Oh, I played with it, so maybe I mixed it, but it was going crazy, like making a really loud sound. Okay, maybe I messed with it enough. Fuel release down here, mirrors and traction control essentially. Heated seats, I did not get mine to heat up very well. Passenger one did. It's kind of warm, and I'm a warm person, so I guess I feel like I would experience that. We're gonna pause here and look from the outside in. All right, so driver door card, could use some love on this leather piece here. Carpets are decent. Seats have been through a bit. This is really hard. Has some pretty good cracks, some wear, some peeling here. And then you do have a sunroof, opens all the way and tilts. A couple little scuffs in your headliner up there. Going to the back, door card's in pretty good shape. These seats aren't too terrible. They've got a couple marks on them, but A lot better in the fronts, but still some wear on them. Seat backs are in pretty good shape. See another little tear, we'll show you on that side. So door card, passenger side here. So this is gonna be like your trim that I was talking about, just some scuffs and chips. And then seat back. Headrest got nicked pretty good. See the blue shining through on the leather. Some scuffs there. Some more marks here. This seat's pretty rough. I see why they have the covers there. Dash has some scuffing and scrapes. Still has owner's manual and everything here. And then a secondary glove box here. I struggled to close that. And then center console. So I'm going to stop on this part and keep moving here. Moving on to the trunk, rear lift gate, truck bed, depends on the vehicle, right? You do have this privacy cover here that clicks in, which is awesome. And then you just pressure clip open and it folds up. Down here, you do have your spare jack. The net for your cargo. This is a dire thing I want to show. So this is rust coming through the bottom here. There's actually a little hole from pushing a little too hard. You can see some more there. And then not too much on this side. Now, this is where your muffler is. So like heat over time, moisture, all that kind of stuff. I don't know if there was moisture in this bottom part. The jack kind of says yes, but definitely something to be aware of. Rear hatch is not power. There is no backup camera or anything like that. Opens and closes really well. Button works. Alright, so we are going through our code scan here. It had a couple stored faults. First one is gauges, and it's also going to be associated with body electrical. It says there's a permanent code in the system for open to the outside air temperature, which kind of messed with like how the car was working on auto for interior temperatures. So you'll see like mix, all that kind of stuff. I'll pause here and just go into it real quick. Alright, so once you get into body electrical, it'll give you all of these. We're going to the HVAC climate control. Maybe. And then we'll read codes here. And see how these are all permanent. So like you have to go to a dealer or have like a scanner like mine to get rid of these. But basically open, short to the blower mode or passenger air mix, outside air. Essentially, if there was a real fault, these would all be open and I wouldn't have had control of the climate controls. It would have just been blowing air and not being changing temperatures. I didn't have any problems there. My assumption is, since this has Celsius on the climate control here, but it's not a Canadian VIN, at least there's no Canadian flag on the VIN, which is usually a sign of that, and no import stickers. They could have had this head unit replaced at some point. Oh, and I would assume that because I just pushed it in all the way while I'm sitting here. So I'm assuming, since that was pulled out and I just pushed it in and it clicked in all the way, this has most likely been a replacement part that was probably shipped from Canada or somewhere where everything is in Celsius, as you can see when you use that. And so they probably had an issue, like when they pulled it out, swapping. They usually, when you see this, didn't disconnect the power source. So you had power to this unit here, and then when it was disconnected, it was an open on a ton of circuits because so many things are controlled by that. And then they just plugged this one in, so it created permanent codes. Like I said, they would be active if the system was not functioning. You're just gonna have Celsius on here. So I'm gonna pause here, go to our monitors. Okay, so anytime we do our drive, we do it a minimum of 10 miles. That should get all these monitors reset. You'll notice the EVAP here is the one that did not. It does have a newer battery. I don't know if this has had a jump start scenario. The time and everything is all correct. It has trip mileage, but sometimes it could take up to 20 miles. I did highway, in town, multiple accelerations, even got the cat pretty hot, smelled that. So that should have reset. I don't typically think it's a cause for concern with that. All that's monitoring is the vapors in the fuel tank. I do have barely any fuel when I went to drive this, so that sometimes plays a factor because it's mostly vapor in there. And so it's just kind of trying to figure out what's happening. Sometimes after a fuel up, it'll kind of click it off though. But nothing here that concerns me. Green checks on everything else, so looks good. We'll keep moving forward. Oh wait, I always like to point here, sorry. The VIN, we like to make sure this matches what's on the vehicle. As you get to like newer stuff, you can like swap computers out and to make a functional vehicle out of something that wasn't, and sometimes those numbers won't match. So sometimes that matters. Like if you put a Canadian VIN or a Canadian computer into an American VIN and then you go to like scan it at the dealer, it'll literally destroy the American VIN on there because it has Canadian parts, and we don't share warranty stuff. But you're 2008, you won't have to worry about that. We're gonna wrap this up on this 2008 Honda CR-V. We got a few things just to recap here together. Brakes. I was told you guys have already driven it. The rotors seem to have good thickness, but they are warped. Calipers look newer with pads as well. So if you can, get them resurfaced, rebuff those pads, let it seat really good again and see how that does. Tires, I did mark at like half-life. Still look pretty good, no dry rot. Major things on this, we do have a good amount of rust underneath. It's nothing out of the normal for our area, but we have some really touchy areas. Our lift points here, I can push in on. The trunk had some inside bubbling through. Not a good thing. This does have a slight pull left. And then I did note, like you can see where it's been rubbing on the inner liners. And then like obviously when you're braking, it pulls left with the pulsation. I did say it could use a good alignment. It's a bit touchy with the toe. Starts right up, drives really good. Transmission's a bit sluggish. I did note that the fluid is a bit broken down and expanded. Might need to flush out a couple times. These are drain and fill transmissions, so you drain it, refill it, drive it like 10-20 miles, do the same thing to get all the fluid from the cooler system, which goes to your radiator. See if that makes a big difference. There's nothing really serviceable about stuff like that in these transmissions. All-wheel drive seemed to work pretty good. I'm in this gravel lot here. I try to do like a little spirited takeoff, and if the front wheels just spin, then it's not really doing its thing. Front wheels stop, grabbed, you can kind of see where it just pull away. So overall, drives pretty good. Does well. We had a concern with the cruise control, but I did mention after a sharp jab to the brake and turning cruise off for a mile or two and then back on, it worked again. It worked initially. I'm not sure, maybe it just did not like me messing with it. I don't know. I do push a lot of buttons when I get in these cars, so they get mad sometimes. Other thing, we have like chips, dings, dents all around the car, some good orange peel on the paint, but nothing that's major, no major impacts I can find. Panels I don't see that have been replaced, so not too bad. For the amount of rust though, it's worth getting a really good treat and then reseal. Definitely get some of those panels fixed, just to not put a band-aid on it, you know what I mean? So we're gonna stop here and then complete the inspection.